The arrivals hall was louder than I remembered, but in that single moment, all I could hear was the sound of my own heartbeat. After 33 long days overseas, I searched the crowd for the woman I was supposed to marry. I imagined her smile, the way she always waved both hands when she spotted me, and the hug that would finally erase the distance between us. Instead, standing alone near the exit with tired eyes and a forced smile, was her younger sister. She wasn't holding flowers. She wasn't smiling with excitement. She was holding an envelope in one trembling hand. Before I even reached her, something inside me whispered that my life had already changed forever. If you believe kindness, forgiveness, and second chances can change lives, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to Dad's Second Chance. Your support helps keep heartfelt stories like this alive. A month earlier, leaving had felt like the hardest thing I had ever done. My company had sent me overseas for an important project that couldn't be delayed. Emily and I had spent nearly 2 years planning our future together. We had already picked a wedding venue beside a quiet lake, argued playfully over the music playlist, and dreamed about the little house we hoped to buy after the wedding. Every night while I was away, we called each other despite the exhausting time difference. Sometimes she sounded tired, but she always insisted everything was fine. She kept reminding me to focus on my work because our future depended on the sacrifice we were making now. I believed every word she said. As I walked toward her sister, Lily, I noticed how different she looked from the cheerful young woman I remembered. Her shoulders seemed heavy, and her eyes carried sleepless nights. She hugged me tightly but said nothing for several seconds. Then she handed me the envelope. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a handwritten letter from Emily. Every sentence felt heavier than the last. She explained that during the weeks I had been gone, doctors had confirmed something she had secretly feared for months. She had a serious illness that required immediate treatment. She hadn't told me because she didn't want me to abandon the opportunity that could secure our future. She believed I deserved a life without hospitals, uncertainty, and constant fear. She had cancelled the wedding and left to begin treatment in another city, hoping I would eventually move on. I read the letter again and again, refusing to accept what my eyes were seeing. My first instinct was anger. How could someone who claimed to love me make such a life-changing decision alone? But beneath the anger was something far stronger. It was heartbreak. She hadn't left because she stopped loving me. She had left because she loved me enough to convince herself I deserved someone healthier, someone whose future wasn't uncertain. Lily quietly explained everything during the drive from the airport. Emily's condition had progressed quickly. She had hidden her pain for months, smiling through family dinners and pretending her exhaustion was simply stress from wedding planning. Even their parents hadn't known the full truth until after I had left. By then, Emily had already made up her mind. She asked everyone to keep the secret until my project ended because she knew I would immediately book the first flight home. The next morning, I couldn't sit still. Every corner of my apartment reminded me of her. The coffee mug she had left behind, the framed engagement photo on the bookshelf, the unopened box containing wedding invitations. The future we had carefully built suddenly felt like a beautiful house swept away by a storm overnight. Friends encouraged me to respect her decision, saying she was trying to protect me. But every time I reread her letter, I found the same truth hidden between the lines. She wasn't protecting me from her illness. She was protecting herself from the guilt of feeling like a burden. Days passed before I finally learned where she was receiving treatment. I didn't call ahead because I knew she would refuse to see me. I simply drove for hours until I reached the hospital. Walking through those bright hallways was one of the most frightening experiences of my life. There were families sleeping in waiting rooms, children laughing despite their treatments, elderly couples holding hands without saying a word. Suddenly my own pain felt connected to countless other stories unfolding around me. When Emily finally saw me standing outside her room, her expression wasn't happiness or anger. It was disbelief. Tears filled her eyes before either of us moved. She looked smaller than I remembered, her face pale from weeks of treatment, yet somehow she was still the same woman who had stolen my heart years ago. Neither of us spoke immediately because words seemed too small for everything we were feeling. The silence carried months of love, fear, disappointment, and hope all at once. Over the following weeks, I learned that loving someone wasn't about promising perfect days. It was about showing up when everything became imperfect, Treatments were exhausting. Some days Emily smiled. Other days she barely had enough strength to sit up. There were moments when frustration overwhelmed both of us. We questioned the future we once imagined so easily. We mourned the wedding plans that had disappeared overnight. But little by little, we stopped grieving the life we had lost and started appreciating the life we still had. Lily became an unexpected source of strength through everything. She visited every weekend, bringing homemade meals, funny stories, and endless optimism. Watching the sisters laugh together reminded me that families don't always fix pain, but they can make it easier to carry. Emily eventually admitted she had asked Lily to meet me at the airport because she couldn't bear the thought of watching my face as my dreams fell apart. Lily confessed that handing me that letter had been the hardest thing she had ever done. Months later, after countless appointments and difficult treatments, the doctors finally shared encouraging news. The road ahead remained long, but Emily's condition was responding better than expected. It wasn't a miracle. It wasn't a perfect ending. There were still uncertainties. Yet for the first time in a long while, hope felt stronger than fear. One quiet afternoon, we visited the lakeside venue where we had once planned our wedding. The reservation had long been cancelled, and another couple would eventually celebrate there. Instead of sadness, we found peace. Sitting together by the water, we realized our greatest dream had never truly been a perfect ceremony. It had simply been growing old together. The location no longer mattered. The expensive decorations no longer mattered. Every ordinary day we shared had become a gift we once took for granted. A year after my return, we stood in a small community garden surrounded by close family and friends. There were no grand decorations or luxury banquet halls. Emily wore a simple white dress. I wore the same suit I had packed for the wedding that almost never happened. As we looked at one another, neither of us saw illness, fear, or lost time. We saw survival. We saw commitment tested by circumstances neither of us could have predicted. We saw two people who had learned that real love isn't measured by perfect moments but by the decision to stay when life becomes difficult. Sometimes people ask whether I regret taking that overseas assignment. The honest answer is complicated. That month apart nearly cost us everything. Yet it also revealed the depth of our love in ways comfort never could. It taught us that true partners don't run from life's storms. They become each other's shelter. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a heartfelt comment, share it with someone who believes in hope, and subscribe to Dad's Second Chance. Your support encourages us to keep sharing stories that remind us all that love, kindness, and second chances still exist in this world. Special request, before this story ends, tell us in the comments, would you have searched for the person you loved, or would you have respected their goodbye? We'd truly love to hear your thoughts. As I think back to that airport, I no longer remember the disappointment of not seeing my fiancé waiting for me. I remember the courage of a frightened young woman who believed she was protecting the men she loved. I remember the sister who carried impossible news with compassion. Most of all, I remember discovering that sometimes the longest journey isn't the flight across the ocean. It's the distance between fear and hope, between giving up and holding on. And if love is willing to cross that distance, then every second chance becomes a beautiful beginning instead of the end.